Before we get into today's episode, I'd like to thank everybody that supports this channel. And while you're here, I'd like you to leave a like, comment, subscribe. Go ahead and share the video because you're going to do it at the end of the video anyway. And if you'd like to support the channel anymore, go ahead and check out our Patreon link that will be in the description below. Or if you feel a little more supportive, we're looking for a great word to use right there, go ahead and jump on Cosmic Nomads Rebel Souls and check out some of the fresh gear we're about to be dropping this spooky season, October 2024. Everybody who signs up for the email SMS subscription list before the drop date will have early access to the drop and get 10% off their first order. Just a sign of appreciation from me to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing to this community. Let's get into the video. Welcome back to Dream Chasers Insanity. Well, actually, I have 3 playlists on here right now, which will probably extend to like between 5 and 7 over the next 18 months. So just understand, I'm just calling this Dream Chasers Insanity because this is what I keep on showing up to this facility to do. And for those of you who are like specialized eyes, autistics, or just like bionic human beings, you might see a little flashing light. It's because one of these lights is messed up in here. And I apologize if you notice that and that disrupts you throughout the video. I hope that you can just turn the screen and listen to what I'm saying, because I guarantee you're going to get some good juice out of this one. But had to let you know that in case you thought I didn't know, because I'm telling you, I know, and it is destroying me right now. But we're going to get through this video just because this is about us, you and me, and the conversation we're about to have and how we can help each other's lives and the journey that we're pursuing, unique to our circumstances. I'm not here to complain. I'm just here to give you the game and appreciate the life that comes on the other end of that. So hopefully you allow me to give you a little bit of something. I know I'm young. I know I'm inexperienced. I know I might not have the same lifestyle or things to showcase to you as other people do in their lives, but I do have this wisdom that I've been cultivating, and I hope it means a little bit of something to everybody who comes across this video. So go ahead and check out the board, bro, and let me know how you're feeling. Before we even get into this, I have to give a shout out to the request that this video came from. The account A for Autistic, thank you. Everybody, round of applause right now, actually, because we are doing video requests, and that deserves a shout out. Everybody who just asks a question and genuinely wants one of these videos, an explanation, a discussion, a conversation, an understanding, it helps grow our community because it helps us understand, like, hey, you know, we're all human beings having this experience, even if they're different or unique to our specific or unique circumstances. How can we find ways to continue to align with or continue to connect with each other when the world wants us to be so far apart from each other? I think this is going to be actually an amazing episode, dude. An amazing episode, especially because I have so many creative artists on my page and just non-traditional life path people. That's what I'm calling us, the NTLPs. Non-traditional life path people. I guess that's NTLP squared. I may make some t-shirts for that. I don't know. The ones on my Cosmic Nomad is hard right now, so you might as well just cop those. And then when I drop the NTLP2s, then you can get that when that shows up. This is just, it's such an important episode because I want us, especially creative people, again, non-traditional people, to not feel crazy pursuing a life that is authentic to who we are, because I genuinely want you to know that is the only life you will get fulfillment from. No matter how much validation you get, no matter how much money you get, no matter how much sex and drugs and you get and how much parties you go to and how many famous people are texting you and liking your pictures, living authentic to self is going to solve so many issues in your life or give you the opportunity to address so many obstacles in your life. You're going to realize that that is what the world, this external world, was attempting to keep you from. Knowing the value in your own journey and being able to use this world as a tool and collaborate with, complement other people to help you in actualizing the visions and dreams you have always had sitting on your mind and your heart. You've just been waiting to use this body to grow in love with this body to actualize them into this world. And mind you, I always have to include the little side notes. When I get a video editor to do those edits, it's going to be hilarious. But not everybody's dream life or dream path or destiny is the same. It's in relation to the awareness of self and the awareness of your circumstances. And that requires you to be present, to be accepting, to be aware of the reality that you live in, not the one that the world is attempting to convince you that you live in and gaslight the experiences that would put you in a position to make different choices, to be less dependent on an external world or external validation that truly isn't going to serve you, because it will never get to know you as much as you will have the opportunity to be aware of who you are in your complexity. So for us as creative people, I speak about this all the time. Just we need to take responsibility for developing a new self-concept and truly, truly, truly being able to stand on it, at least until we're able to build communities that can help protect us in that self-love of a creative identity and being able to reinforce positivity towards that. In a world that literally shames people into being identities that they hate for validation that they wouldn't get anywhere else. Super sick world we live in. And it's crazy because I don't want to get into too many tangents here, but there's only so much suffering that the world creates for human beings. Most of our suffering is coming from human beings hating other human beings, so much so that we create imaginary laws to treat human beings like non-human beings because they are not willing to submit their soul to our game of humanity called society, which only serves those who run the game, yet don't have to play it or actually live through the consequences of it. They just get to make all the decisions about it. I always end up getting too political, bro. I apologize for that. But that, I don't apologize, because that's what you're here for anyway at some point. So, a little synopsis, a little rundown of what we're going to get into in today's episode is ambition versus anxiety. In an episode prior to this one, because this is dropping in October, I speak about self-validation and how important it is to be able to not only be aware of the self, but to validate the self in a world that is built on self-rejection from as early as the being can be aware of the self. Unless you're fortunate enough to be the golden child of the American system, which is just a Aryan white boy who's going to continue to raise Aryan, blue-eyed, blonde-haired little Jesuses until one of them ends up being the one that saves us all from like this damned earth that we live on. But as you're applying that journey of self-acceptance and alchemizing the self-rejection and the negativity within the soul that you've been holding on to as a part of your self-concept, then you're going to have to start moving into this area right here and understanding, oh my goodness, maybe these emotions that I have and I'm holding on inside of me, maybe they aren't something I'm supposed to suppress or reject so I can keep existing in a reality that I hate. Maybe they're actually trying to warn me that this is the consequence of living in a reality that I hate or living in a world that's inauthentic to me. And if I don't fix something about how I am presenting myself, or at least change something about the reality around me, then I will start to sabotage me and what is going on inside of me because I refuse to understand that. Because it's more comfortable clinging on to what this outer world is giving me immediately rather than taking the time to slowly get to know myself and truly, in accepting this, then decide how I'm going to transform my outer world to align with who I am in here. Because I am the only person that can hear that first calling, and then I put it outside of me. But you can't get there if you're born self-rejecting. If you're literally raised rejecting yourself, you can't validate yourself. You have to put yourself through all of these hoops and hurdles and all of these trials and all of these expectations and all of these before somebody who is valid can validate you, but they probably won't. Especially if you're black, especially if you're a woman, especially if you're queer, especially if you're marginalized. Like, you think this system is going to validate you in being better than the golden children of this system as well? When they can just lie to you, exploit you, give ownership of the value you create to one of their boys, and then continue to maintain the wealth, or at least the levels of power that they have underneath this capitalist system. He who owns capital is God. Rather than sharing any of the wealth, because why would you do that? Why would you tell people the truth and then actually give them what they're worth if you want to own them? Going on this creative path will show you that we are living, especially in America, we are living on a plantation, bro. But let's not only show, because I'm starting to lose myself a little bit here, and I just want to get right into the video. The focus of this video is to get into addressing what is the ambition, what is the calling from within, what is coming from within the house that is asking to be expressed and actualized into this world, and what is the anxiety, what are the expectations, the overwhelming expectations and standards of an outer world that doesn't know or appreciate me genuinely. How is that pressure stopping me from being able to express and push out my real self, the version of me that I came here to express, because that's the only journey I'm going to learn the fullness of who I am on, while also being able to benefit from the gifts, the unique gifts and blessings that are entitled to my authentic being. Because I'm the only person that can be my authentic being. So if I work my whole way to be that as quickly as I can, or at least as efficiently as I can, I'm the only one that has access to these blessings. But if I'm working to be somebody that I'm not, in a field full of people who are also self-rejecting, trying to be people they're not, there's a scarce number of blessings because everybody is competing to be one person rather than everybody competing against themselves to be the best version of themselves so they can put their best foot forward to complement a community of people who are also complete in the self, ready to complement others. And to finish this 10-minute intro, because I know it's 10 minutes, maybe this dream chasing journey is not about what you get on the other end of the journey if you're successful. Maybe it's about who you become along the way. The reason why I call it a dream chaser's calling or curse are because some people are fortunate enough to be able to pursue the dream chaser's journey because they wake up, they know they are not traditional. Maybe it's they had an early ADHD autism diagnosis, they had dysfunctional childhood, they live in unique circumstances, but they know they're not traditional. So their parent, their support system, their environment accommodates them in a way that is non-traditional. And they know based on their expertise, based on their commitment to, based on their ability to just be better, they feel called. And then society ends up reinforcing that because many people in society can't perform in that way. But that invalidates all the people who don't get the dream chaser's calling and who are actually cursed into chasing their dreams, which may sound weird because it's like, how could you be punished into a blessing? Of course, sounds weird, but since this is a personal internal thing, this is more about self-acceptance than it is about self-rejection and punishment. It's about recognizing how much time we've spent rejecting ourselves or how much time our environment has spent rejecting our true selves and stopping us from being able to take the steps in living a life full of self-acceptance and reinforcing that ability to do so. So for many of us, we are not walking into consciously a life of chasing our dreams with full support behind us. many of us are forced into a corner to where chasing our dreams is the only thing that's going to save us from our current circumstances. So every aspect, every opportunity, every resource of the real world, current life, the crumbs of today are all stacked up to create the bread for tomorrow, rather than eating the crumbs for today and complaining about never having enough. That's why I always ask people, especially people who go through very negative experiences, I beg people to look at themselves as not somebody who's being punished by the external world or the universe or God, as somebody who's being given an opportunity to make different choices. Somebody who's given an opportunity to take a different path than the traditional or the expected one, because the expected one is obviously not giving you the solution that you want. Creative people create a way when they cannot see one that already exists. And again, I'm constantly going to go back and reinforce it. It starts fundamentally with self-acceptance. It starts with inner validation. It starts with knowing you are different and not automatically rejecting yourself off of differences, but accepting the differences and accommodating the differences, and now moving into a direction with those, because that's who you are. You will never be apart from that, no matter how much validation you get for any mask you use to cover that up. Back to phase one. I love doing that tangent stuff. For many of us dream chasers, because we still are, whether or not we want to accept it or not, whether we work an Amazon job, a retail job, we work you're a nanny for somebody, whether you're not making any money but you've made content for years, whether you've made music for years, and you know what I'm saying? Like, you're still a dream chaser if you're going through these circumstances. It's just your perspective now. You limiting yourself, thinking that, oh, well, my circumstances are horrible and I don't have resources and I don't have support. It feels like you have nothing. But what if, allow me to change perspective now, what if chasing your dreams and the path to them, actualizing what you think your dreams are, is the journey where you will make the decisions that end up opening the doors, that provide the support, that provide the resources, that show you that people are willing to believe in you, but they won't believe in you any more than you believe in yourself. And if you aren't fortunate enough to be born with or come fundamentally with that support system, like we're describing right here, you have to be willing still to know inside yourself you are this person, and allow everything that you don't have to come around to support you for who you know you are. And in that, you can also recognize how fortunate people are to have that support system. But even if you're born with a support system, even if you're raised with a support system, all they can do is help get you to a point where you learn how to take responsibility for your own circumstances and how to validate yourself. And still, you have to choose to go on that journey. Still, you have to be the one to decide. So let's just call it, if you want to call it a curse, we can call it a curse, but maybe you've just been expedited on the process to making those decisions that will allow you to really see, are you this dream chaser or are you not one of these? And can you just go back and work your traditional job and live your regular life and not have to worry about any of this anxiety stuff anymore? Maybe just go get med up and then call it a day. And the final little aspect of this dream chaser's curse, for those of us who aren't born with support and validation and accommodations, is because even if you do, like, in spite of not having resources, in spite of living in a society that creates consumers and slaves and NPCs more than it wants to create leaders and visionaries and allow dreamers and creatives to exist, when you've already beat the dysfunctional, the unsupportive family system or support system or the trash talking peers, when you've already beat that and you still decided, like, no, this dream that I have, this vision I have, this life I want to live is still more important than any of that. Even when you do that, living in the digital age, living in this mass media age of enmeshed consciousness of the Western world that is, again, manipulated by the corporations who have the money to spend the most on marketing. You look on the internet, you look online, you look into the world, and all you see is nepotism babies playing this role as if they, oh, I came from nothing and my parents had nothing and I chased my dreams and I spent my last $5 on Ethereum and now I'm a millionaire. They didn't tell you that they had a $100,000 trust fund, right? They didn't tell you that they were already making money beforehand and their parent is a doctor and the other one's a lawyer, right? They didn't tell you that they live in a top 1% community in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, in Newport Beach. They don't tell you any of those things though. But they tell you, hey, just for the duration while I was running this business, we were all broke and I was eating ramen. A girlfriend broke up with me because I was going too hard. And what I'm trying to say with this before I just turn it into a hit piece on everybody who's just leading the world on like self-improvement and kind of like financial gurus is there's nobody to look up to. Because everybody who assumes these positions of leadership or authority is just doing it to serve their own ego or to gain the whatever comes, like the consequence of whatever comes with having a highly validated ego. I'll speak for men: money, girls, validation, access to places that you would have never been invited to if you weren't this person. Like just simple egoic desires, bro, that do nothing to serve the community that we will inevitably affect being in leadership over them or having authority over them. So that only reinforces the point that I keep saying. Living in a world where you don't have a support system outside of you, no peer reinforcement, you don't have leaders to look up to in the world because the leaders are just people who own capital and probably inherited that wealth from exploiting people in another country who probably look like me. You don't have resources. Public school systems getting gutted every single day. There's no social welfare system. There's no public health care. There's no genuine like foundational income strategy for genuine Americans. So Americans can't even afford to live in America anymore. We just have to sit here and live in cars and parking lots. Like, if you know this is for you, then you have to go all in. That's what the ancestors are telling me right now. If you know this is for you, then you have to go all in. All of it ties back to this inner validation theory or perspective that I keep on bringing up. Like, nothing has to be right. And the second you realize this curse that is your life, this horrid, ridiculous experience that is the life that you live right now, doesn't have to be a curse. The second you realize you can validate your steps, you can take responsibility for your circumstances, you can control what you can control, and end up eventually creating a life outside of you that aligns with the dreams that haunt you at night, then that curse turns into a calling. Let's get into phase 2. Okay. Phase 2. What's good? Since we've got through the dream chaser's calling, because now it's not a curse anymore, now we're on this path for life. Forget everybody who left us behind. The second we decided I'm a dream chaser and I'm chasing my dreams and I'm only living in a reality where people are going to support me, not chasing this specific dream, but being and becoming somebody who is authentic to who I am on the inside, because I know that's the only thing that can fully fulfill me in this life. The second I make that decision and I'm willing to sacrifice everything that is stopping me from taking full responsibility for that, nothing's stopping you, bro. Then you have to make the choice. This is one of the hardest decisions anybody has to make, because you're literally saying this: I'm willing to sacrifice the real people in my real life, the real money, the real relationships, the real experiences in my current reality because I am willing to gamble that this random vision and stuff that's going on in my head is actually coming from the future, and I deserve to live that reality. So I'm going to reverse engineer that reality to my present moment by taking the steps I need to take in my present moment to get to that future or to actualize that future in front of me. Are you willing to sacrifice your real people, your real friends, your real family, your real world, especially if they aren't willing to, if they don't take you seriously? Especially because they don't take many of us dream chasers seriously because we can't live the traditional 9-to-5 path anyway. And that's what they think. Oh, well, if you can't work a job, how can you run a business? Some of us aren't meant to be slaves, brother. But back to the point. Are you willing to sacrifice your reality for what it is right now and gamble that, put literally all your cards and your arm and your leg on the table in exchange for the whole entire house at the end of the night? Are you willing to do that? But the risk is you don't get anything and you lose your arm and your leg and you have to live without them for the rest of your life. Literally a literal zero-sum game. Like, you have to win or you don't. And when you realize it's not necessarily that, when you commit to that path, I think the fear of getting on that path is like, okay, well, I might fail and then it's completely over. But once you get on that path, you realize that failure is the illusion. And failure is just like almost like a door into helping expose parts of yourself that you would have never otherwise known if you weren't, if you had no constant to push against you. Really, really weird analogy here, but it's like the Florida State football team saying that they were super good all off season, but they had only been playing themselves. And then they get to the 2024 football season and they lose 3 games straight and barely win the 4th one. And it's like, oh, you needed to play somebody else. And we needed to see you play somebody else so we could truly gauge where you're at. And then from that failure or that rejection, you start to make decisions as to the changes you have to make to align with the goal that you have. But if you're afraid to fail, you're afraid to take risks, you're afraid to lose and sacrifice anything, we will never know who you are, and we will never know if the dream you're chasing is even something that you genuinely like, because we don't even know if you're willing to sacrifice any of what you love or care about for it. Because that's what you would do for something that you really love and care about, right? Maybe that's just me talking. Maybe that should be talking, man. And I keep on not addressing this point, and it's just like a 5-second thing anyway. Are you going to sacrifice? No, frame me. Are you going to say, forget them and chase all of your dreams? Say, you know what? I'm going to not necessarily be somebody who I do this. Not necessarily that. What I'm trying to say is, are you somebody who says, I'm going to allow the dreams that speak to me to guide me in this life that I'm living and to allow me to become somebody on the other end of that? Will I be somebody who is that self-accepting, that deeply self-accepting and self-aware to be able to validate myself on that path and then allow people who also care about me enough to do so the same space and access to me? Or, let's not forget this last part. This is a very important part. And let it all work out off the love and passion. Because all you can do is put your best foot forward, bro. You can't control the circumstances, but you can control your intention. Or Will we say, you know what, I don't care who I really am on the inside, and I'm just going to continue to give myself a bunch of anxiety, forgive me, I'm going to continue to give myself a bunch of identities and a bunch of disorders and a bunch of extra masks to wear so I can feel, I'm dysregulated, but it's okay because I'm just going to suppress it or I'm just going to fix it and then not feel dysregulated and then go and live a life that is still not authentic to who I am. And then question why it's so hard for me to love myself or it's so hard for me to have a real identity based on who I am when so much of my identity is rooted in the medications I have to take to not be my authentic self. Mind you, this conversation is going to be touchy for a lot of people. And the way that we will stop it from being touchy is saying maybe you should give people a sense of community and basic human rights, and less people will be addicts to big pharma and privatized healthcare rather than people who are actually being served by their social welfare programs and institutions. If you're not choosing to chase your dreams and let it all work out off of love and the passion because you can't control the circumstances or the expectations, you're going to suppress who you really are for the validation of being or becoming who you're supposed to be. Quick 2 examples for being and becoming. Being is like the job that you work, and becoming is like you going in debt to go to school to get a piece of paper that's going to allow you to now be hired, to be underpaid to work the job that you desired to work. Mind you, since this pathway, this back end, I'm not going to be my authentic self, is not going to completely fulfill you, you need to find other ways to, one, shave off the excess humanity that is you, that is not being accommodated, and then also to stimulate the battered down soul that exists within your being because you're not serving it either by living a life that you hate. This is why I included, I was going to make a whole entire other episode on this, which I probably actually will. But living a life inauthentic to who you are, to hope that the validation of other people or higher ups or like a world of people who are more successful than you is going to complete you, is going to inevitably lead you to coping mechanisms, addictive coping mechanisms, negative, self-sabotaging, addictive coping mechanisms, chasing that final bit of self-acceptance that you know you aren't getting from pursuing this kind of lifestyle that is not authentic to you. Because it's either going to be you accepting yourself and then a world slowly growing in appreciation of who you are and how you accept yourself, or it's going to be you rejecting yourself, you craving self-acceptance from the world, and slowly but surely exploiting yourself or sacrificing your own dignity to access more and more and more validation of the world that is keeping you on a hamster wheel because it's just keeping you away from validating yourself, which would stop the race completely. Because you can't sell illusions of self-acceptance, or you can't sell opportunities to escape reality to people who genuinely love and care about themselves. You can't sell the opportunity to be somebody else to somebody who loves the life that they live, loves the path that they're on, and genuinely would give anything to stay in their own 2 feet. The only way you can rip them out of that life is death. Unless they're stupid, and then you sell them illusions. You sell them fake intimacy through these broken hookup cultures. You sell them fake, almost like fake escape, fake vacations through drug. The ability to take a vacation inside the mind from the feelings of the body. Mind you, I'm going to take a time right here to tell you, I'm a stoner. I'm a stoner. But one thing that I've realized is that I don't utilize my drugas in a way to escape myself. It is a compliment. It is literally just the spices on the main dish that is my reality. Just a little, a little, a little. That's all it is. It's not the battery pack that I need that many of us people need in this world, whether it's coffee, it could be alcohol for people, it could be prescription medication for people. But it's society attempts to sell you a battery pack that you have to keep on buying or keep on exploiting yourself to gain access to and keep on sabotaging your life so you can keep gaining access to this. But all this is doing is validating that something is wrong, but you aren't willing to address it because it's socially acceptable to do these things. So you might as well just do what's socially acceptable, crave externally for validation, and then sabotage your external life doing things you shouldn't be doing because all of this is trying to put you on this path, which is eventually leading you towards a path of self-acceptance rather than the endless, bottomless abyss of self-rejection. And the thing I love about free will in this world we live in is that you have to make that decision. Nobody else gets to make that for you. You are the one. I was going to make a TikTok video about this, which I probably still will. But I was watching a clip of this like 3-hour Kanye documentary. And he's sitting in like a studio, this dope studio session with Travis Scott. And he's all, it gets to a certain point on this journey, you're the only person that can stop yourself. Like, it gets to a point where you just get so big, whether it's in your own mind or to the world, where it's not like they don't matter, but you, the artist, the receiver of this life experience, you decide if any of it matters at all. And then, because at the end of the day, it's not what influences you that matters. It's the decision that you make with the power that you have, with the position that you're in, that everybody is waiting to be on the other side of. But if you can't accept yourself first, other people are going to put you in position to exploit what you have because they can't get access to it authentically being themselves. Please, 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 as a creative artist, like transform self-concept. I have a whole 6-hour self-concept series for free that I made on here. Please go watch that video. It's just a human being self-concept one, so not really a creative artist authentic one. I might make one specific to creative artists, but please go watch that video. We need to change our self-concept as creatives and understand the same emotion that we could be attempting to run away from could actually be the thing that's attempting to force us into a life that we actually love to live in and we can genuinely accept ourselves in. The pace of this is moving beautifully. I know I keep looking at my watch, but it's because we're on time limits in here. The second I get my own apartment, gang, I'm telling you, I'm going to be just recording all day, all day, all day, all day, all day, all day. I might get lost in the screen, to be honest. All right. Final thought for phase 2. If you were born average, your dreams wouldn't haunt you. You'd actually be able to enjoy them while you sleep. Let's get into the next phase 3 right here. I'm going to do a little bit of explaining as to what ambition and anxiety, the energy of both are to me, and how both are basically two sides of a binary that is the awareness to actualization of the self model that I have created. I hope you guys can appreciate that. And if you guys want to make me famous at all, make sure you tag me in all those freaking peer-reviewed articles you write. This is a whole new world of psychology and spirituality, so I understand a lot of stuff is going to go down, and I'm literally just some freaking junkie who's just talking shit on the internet. Okay, the part that we have probably all been waiting for. I'll allow you to read this first while I figure out how I'm going to just pelt you with words and intellect and wisdom and goodness and greatness and all these creative juices inside my body. I love to share with you guys. I don't know why I did that. But the first thing I want to get into, actually, before we even speak about what I believe anxiety and ambition are in relation to the non traditional life path person, is the awareness to actualization model that I just came up with probably about a week or two ago. This is on the other side. If this is a video that you appreciate, right, up to this point, I need you to go back to my no validation necessary video and learn about how fear and hell and all this external shame and guilt, it is all manufactured to get you to not validate the self, because only certain types of people are allowed to validate the self fundamentally. They look like this, and their eyes are blue and their hair is blonde. Okay? And they have 3 legs, 2 legs and a thumb. That might get me canceled. I don't care. I don't care. Okay. But I'm for the person, the people who are watching this video, the creative artist who's developing self-concept. I'm never gonna be able to live down that last little joke I threw down there. I'm just gonna apologize right now because I know I'm getting canceled. You first become aware, whether it's the calling that we were talking about in phase 1 or the curse that you're enduring, whether it's the choice that you have to make, but you become aware of what it is. Something is not right. Something is not in alignment, because if it was in alignment, you wouldn't be thinking about changes you need to make. But something is not in alignment. You are becoming aware of that disconnection. Now, you have the opportunity to do one of 2 things. I highly advise you do both things in a specific order, one that allows you to do the last one perfectly. But you are going to alchemize the energy that is dysregulated. You have to understand, for this part, you have to understand that in self-acceptance, true self-acceptance is not just accepting you for what you want to accept yourself as. It's accepting you for your light and your darkness, because you know you are the climax of both. And if you are not accepting of both, you will be at the mercy of the one that you reject the most. That's why people crash out when they drink alcohol and whatnot, because they don't address their demons sober. So when some substance or accommodation has an opportunity to rip that out of them and bring it into the surface world, bring it into the real world, who's to blame but yourself? Because you had an opportunity to go down there on your own time and to face that truth. But that's not what this is about. You're alchemizing the energy more so than not. You're alchemizing your perspective on the energy, because the energy is not the thing that's changing. Your ability to handle, to cultivate, to master, to conduct the energy is what changes. We live in an energetic-based universe. Your ability to understand how to humble yourself in your humanity, to be a student of, a servant of energy, will help you understand that your emotions are energy. And if you are a conductor of energy and you can figure out how to reconfigure the energy that is coursing through your energetic body, we don't even have to get into the magical aspect of life that comes from that. But what we can get into is that allows you a different level of self-acceptance, because it's you going into your unique self, your unique expression of this human life, and accepting parts of yourself that the world may never get access to. Allowing yourself to know, hey, even if the whole world rejects you, you know yourself to a level that the world will never get to, and you still love you for who you are in all aspects of that. And in doing so, you allow yourself the time and the space to allow people and the world to meet you, if not the world, the right people to meet you loving yourself at the level that you need to love yourself at. Because only you can create that standard. The world can only impose what they think the standard is or reinforce the standard that you've already set for yourself. So this happens more times than not. The awareness happens usually by trauma on the outside world punching us down, motivating us to go within, or it is inspiration from the outside world and we want to chase that inspiration, forcing us to go deep within to say, what in my heart, in my soul, in my current reality is not reflective of having access to that thing that I want that I don't have. But fundamentally, to want out there, to want a different circumstance for yourself, to want a different reality, to want a different thing, to want new blessings, new friends, new love, new life, it doesn't start by running out there, because you will run miles. You can run across the world. And all of it as a means of not looking in a mirror and taking those steps, few steps, back to the self. But it's the hardest steps you will ever take in this entire life. So everybody else has just decided they'd create an entire society about running away from themselves and how cool they can make it look running away from themselves. Rather than everybody having that own darkness, that own grit, that own solitude they had to face to really get to a point where they were going to accept themselves in spite of everything. When we're alchemizing this energy and we're learning how to accept the fullness of ourselves, we give ourselves the best opportunity to realize what of our emotions, what of our desires are authentic to us and serve our highest good, and which ones are just in our brains and our bodies to serve our fleshly, our lowly desires. And I'm not saying anything is in like, oh, you got to reject the low and only accept the high. I'm saying the more aware we become of ourselves, the more accepting we are of who we authentically are, and the more we learn how to accommodate that, that gives us the best foundation to actualize any of these things called dreams and visions that we carry in our brain into the world. But how will we know what dreams authentic to us we want to actualize if we don't even accept ourselves? And how will we even be able to accept ourselves if we don't even know ourselves? This is what I speak about all the time, especially in relation to relationships. How can you love somebody or say that you love somebody, but you don't know them? You can't. You love something about how they love you, or you love an illusion that you've created of them, which now puts them on a pedestal, which they, in their authenticity, will disappoint, causing resentment. I love how everything is just so connected in this world, bro. I just be knowing things, man, on the gang. Let's make sure this is still recording, and then I'll explain to you the real part, which maybe we could have started this video with, but I guess it doesn't matter now because you guys are still here to the end. So here we go. How do I look at ambition and anxiety as two sides of the same coin? Both of them, I truly believe, are just not chases of. Both of them are attempts of chasing self-acceptance. But one of them is, I am inspired to be accepting of myself, allowing me to impose my will onto the world because I know myself so much, and I know that I as a human being am deserving of access to live this life authentic to me. I'm going to impose the life that I know I deserve to live onto this world. Of course, respecting the well-being and the nature of other human beings, allowing them the space to accept themselves deeply and also actualize. Because that allows us to collectively not only accept ourselves personally, but appreciate others as well and collaborate. communicate, join, build, network with other people, but not needing to steal from others, being allowed to go to the flower garden and appreciate that the flower garden is there rather than going to the flower garden and picking out every single flower just so they can die 3 days later. Wow. And I love it. This might just be an episode about ADHD, to be honest. But this, like, the purple is the world attempting to tell you what you're supposed to be. But one thing that I've done, and I didn't even write it here, but I've hacked that little purple line. So instead of putting around me what I'm supposed to be based on the surface identity that I am, the black line, I said, you know what? Forget that. I know who I am in here, the orange, and I'm going to express that regardless if the purple is going to validate me or not. So why don't I say, you know what? If the purple is going to be here regardless, why don't I influence the purple by placing as many things that can positively impact my awareness, my journey, and my ability to actualize in this life? Making sure that I'm the types of books I'm reading, the types of interviews and lectures I'm listening to, the types of things I'm studying, the types of friends I'm hanging out with, the places that I'm going to, the types of food I'm eating, the workouts that I'm doing. How can I create my own purple? So not only do I have a protectant outside of me, but it's not indoctrinating me to be somebody that is not authentic to who I am. It is actually influencing me to be exactly who I am and continuing to reinforce internally and helping me grow and cultivate this version of self. So all of these things can now be, all of these arrows can be sprouting out of the circle, and I can live a life fully flexed out, balls to the ground in this reality, because that's how everyone's supposed to be living. Now, the anxiety, and again, I'm not trying to tell any of you guys to get off your medication, because some of you guys really be having stuff going on up there. In my eyes, what I've realized my anxiety is, and especially when it comes to social anxiety, because a lot of my social anxiety came from stuff that was imposed onto me through trauma. But like, I don't know if that was coming from just like a white suburb and like that kind of hatred that you get from there, or it was coming up from just like a family that hates the fuck out of me. So it's like, oh, like I'm still learning through my experiences and through the life that I live how to accept myself and how to grow in alignment with my truth, rather than listening to a super harsh inner critic that wants to like beat my ass all day. But in making peace with the anxiety that I've had, and it has stopped me from actualizing the dreams that I have, I've realized that anxiety is just, it's almost like a permeable rock. Oh, let me explain that. And I might have even said that wrong. But what I'm trying to explain is it's like a rock that it has holes in it. The water eroded holes into it because the quality of rock is not firm enough to allow the water to wash over it. So the water ended up almost drilling holes into it. And why I say that is these thoughts of, whether it's experiences or trauma or just ideas that you've had, they create holes inside your being. These questions of incompleteness, these loose ends inside of you, they end up making you feel as if, I'm not complete. So maybe the outer world will tell me something that will help fill those holes up so I can feel complete. That is the illusion. These question marks will not be turned into exclamation points, or will not be solved and completed, and the holes will not be filled by going into the outer world and hoping the world is going to know you better than you know yourself to clean that up. Our best form of medication for this circumstance is an actual prescription medication to suppress it because we don't know how to address it. That's big pharma, Western psychology's best way of addressing anxiety. Hey, just tell it to shut up so you can keep going to work tomorrow. Tell it to shut up so you can keep hanging out in that relationship. Tell it to shut up. That's how we address it. And then let's punish all the people who don't have access to healthcare, super expensive healthcare, and call them crazies. And then actually just send them to jail so we can exploit them in other ways for not having access to this specific expensive medication that's going to treat this specific thing called anxiety that somehow everybody has a different version of. Those questions, that inability to validate the self creates holes within the being, allowing the world, especially predators, to go in and literally use you or motivate you based on your inability to validate yourself to become what they need you to be. Because now you have allowed yourself, you basically just opened the back door just wide open, and now you're just like a wind me up human being that's waiting to be exploited by whoever can like take control over your wind stick. This was such a great episode. I actually really like doing this one. And this might actually be this might be an hour 30-minute episode, but I want to let you guys know I really enjoyed doing this one. This was fun. What else do I have to let you guys know? Let me actually just cut this and then figure out something sentimental or sappy to say, and then we'll get into the end of the video. This is the end of the video. Thank you for wasting so much of your time watching my yap sessions. I hope you understand how much I appreciate you, how much I love you for giving me the time of day. And I'm not that self-hating. I'm just joking about all that earlier stuff. But I'm very, very, very thankful that you guys are here watching these videos. You guys are able to apply these lessons to your life and understand, hey, you're not crazy, you're just different. And the second that I'm different and that's okay starts to happen, and you go on that path of self-acceptance, rather than I'm different and I need to fix myself, and that path of self-rejection starts to happen, you're going to be living on the other side of a life that continues to serve you, continues to give to you, continues to bless you. Because you've decided that you are willing to put yourself up there. The respect, the love, the care, the attention, the validation, all. You are willing to give it all to yourself until the universe can show you people and experiences and environments that are willing to reinforce it at the level at which you decide you deserve, if not greater than that. Little final thought that I'll end with you guys. It's very nerve-wracking before you start to learn how to trust the universe and trust yourself and trust your process. But one thing I'm going to tell you right now, the universe is a gambling son of a gun. This world we live in, this external force that is the universe, the ether, is a gambling son of a gun. And if you're willing to bet all your cards on yourself, you might not win in the ways that you think you're supposed to win, or you think traditional people win in relation to that. But if you are willing to sacrifice everything that you are not for everything that you desire to become, the universe will 1 billion-fold on that desire if you commit to it. The universe will 1 billion-fold. And then when you realize, oh, this isn't like some transactional exchange between me and this God or higher power universe, this is a collaborative process called my individual human life within this collective consciousness that I have the opportunity to create space for, to take time out to give love to cultivate, to grow. And this can mean something to me. And I can always have access to this thing that means something to me. And from this, everything that I become, everything that I learn, everything that I am off of this journey, I can now give more to this world that I thought never had anything for me. Very, very, very thankful that you guys are here watching these videos. Very thankful that you guys take the time out of your day to watch this, man. This is these are long videos, and I'm telling you, people's attention spans are so fried. Like, my videos might not kick up for another 5, 10 years, but I'm gonna keep on doing what I need to do to actualize the dreams that I came here to actualize. And I'm glad to have you guys along the way. Hopefully this inspires you to not just give light to the voices, to not just give light and appreciation to the dreams and the visions that you have in your head, but to allow them an opportunity to grow from you. The womb that is your mind, bro. Allow those dreams to have life, bro. Stop aborting those dreams, bro. Bring them to the real world. And let's rock together. I love you guys more than life, bro, for real. Without you guys, I don't know where the fuck I would be. Catch y'all later.